Hey everyone, welcome to my Tate Talk. I'm super excited to be able to record this for you all, and I hope you guys enjoy hearing a little bit about the science behind exercise. So, in case you don't know me, I'm Nicholas Yanek. I'm entering my third year majoring in biology. My major used to be exercise and sport science, but I recently changed majors in order to have the STEM classification, but I'm still super passionate about exercise sport science, which is also called kinesiology in case I use that term. But I'm so passionate about it because I also run cross country and track here, and running plays a large part in my life, and so does overall health and well-being, including nutrition and recovery, all that kind of stuff. What is the big deal with exercise, though? I found this quote from Hippocrates that says, "Eating alone will not keep a man well. He must also take exercise." And Hippocrates was around since I don't know, around 400 BC or something like that. And if he was touting, exercise's benefits, clearly it must be good. But let's fast forward about 2,500 years and see where we're at. So America always has a stereotype, not stereotype, kind of, about being obese and being really fat and all that kind of stuff, which the stats definitely don't help. 74% of Americans are classified as overweight or obese, and specifically 40% of Americans are obese. And so obesity is determined by BMI or body mass index, where an overweight individual has a BMI between 25 to 29.9, and being classified as obese is the group that's 30 or above for your BMI. And so as an example, somebody who is 5'8" would be classified as overweight at 165 pounds and obese at 197 pounds. However, BMI can be skewed because some people are, extremely muscular and things like that. They may just weigh more because they just have a lot of extra muscle. However, if you're looking just for generally healthy guidelines and where you should be on the weight spectrum, the BMI scale is still a pretty good guideline to follow. And so furthermore, part of our problem is that we're not very active in the United States. Only 20% of Americans actually reach the recommended 150 minutes per week of exercise. And so, 20% is sadly very low. 150 minutes a week is only 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, which really isn't that much time. To put it in perspective, the 150 minutes out of your week, that's only 1.49% of the time in a week. So, just under 1.5% of your time should be going towards exercise in order to be meeting those recommendations. And so, why is this recommendation, out there? Why do we tell our kids to go outside and play and for adults to go out and be active? So in the simplest terms, exercise, it improves your quality of life and it helps with your duration of life, so it helps you live longer. However, there are also a lot of extra benefits that people don't realize. Many studies are showing that exercise can actually slow aging. It results in a better mood. It can lead to less chronic or long-lasting pain, and it can even improve your vision as, kind of an extra fun fact. But yes, of course, also exercise, it does help you lose and maintain weight, which definitely helps, as a benefit. And you always hear, it lowers the risk for heart disease and stroke and diabetes and all that as well. You really get the idea of just the vast benefits that exercise provides. But what if you were to choose to skip the exercise? In the long term, you could have some really drastic negative effects on your overall well-being. It can increase your risk of cancer, your risk of heart disease, risk of Alzheimer's disease, among many other illnesses. And so it can be hard for people to think about, something as small as skipping exercise, leading to such a big thing later down the road because it's just so far ahead. But when you continuously skip the exercise, it can really add up. But there is also immediate effects that you'll notice in a shorter time span. So you can experience, lower back pain, arthritis symptoms, depression, anxiety, or worse mood, and even worse complexion. which, golden hour doesn't last all day. So, we got to keep our skin looking as good as we can. But anyway, so exercise definitely, skipping it is not a great idea. But, missing it here and there is okay. It's only 5 days a week out of the 7 that you really should be exercising anyways, or that you need to shoot for. But, just try not to get it into the habit of skipping exercise. And so, there are tons of benefits. There's, lots of negatives when exercise is neglected, but how does this all happen in the body? And, isn't being skinny just enough? Well, no, skinny does not equal healthy. Skinny, it can have a whole lot of different things, I guess, with it. We can get into that different, TED Talk, I guess, maybe down the road. But skinny does not mean healthy. But exercise does bring about a lot of positive changes, and so it's very important that you still exercise, even if it's not necessarily for a weight goal. And so the benefits, we'll start with the brain. The brain is our wheelhouse. We need it to think, to do different things, to speak, everything. So this very critical piece is, such a beauty in our lives that we don't want to cause it any harm. And exercise is definitely a way to help keep the negatives out and bring positives in to help with the brain. So in general, exercise leads to improved memory, less depression, and quicker learning. But it all really comes back to the promotion of blood flow through exercise. So when you're working out, you can feel your blood pumping, you can feel everything pulsing. That's good. That's exactly what you want it to be doing. You want your blood to be getting delivered everywhere. By increasing the blood flow throughout the body, the brain will be receiving more blood as well. And the first thing that this does is that it helps remove toxins from the brain by bringing that blood through, helps flow everything in and out. And so it brings the good stuff in and it takes the bad stuff out, and it takes the bad stuff to its according places for excretion and everything, to get it out of the body. And then another huge thing is that with this increased blood flow, there's also a reduction in inflammation, because it brings all the good stuff like oxygen and glucose and whatnot to the brain. Decreasing inflammation can also help prevent plaque buildups, which are very characteristic of Alzheimer's disease, and so that's how exercise can help prevent the onset of Alzheimer's disease, or at least delay the onset. And so, yes, it is very beneficial, and exercise is very valuable. But there is also another benefit too, that the increased blood flow helps enhance the growth of blood vessels in the brain, and it also helps promote the production of brain cells. And so as exercise is going and the blood is flowing, it stimulates the BDNF protein, and it produces that just in a greater quantity, which helps trigger the neuron growth, protection, and repair, to further help your brain all across the board. We're going to jump into a smaller scale. We'll jump over to your cells. Exercise has been shown to slow down the aging process. So, the wrinkles, joint pain, and, other issues that you might think of when you picture old people, this can all kind of be at least minimized, or, help a little bit if you exercise. And so, your cells, they'll have to divide. So in cell division, the DNA has to duplicate to keep the same DNA strands going through every single generation of cells. So I hope this isn't too complicated. Science majors they'd understand it. I hope I can explain this decently well. But in the image on the left, when the DNA splits, there's a protein that binds and it connects, and it is represented by this gray arrow. And so it's able to just go along this upper strand and, it can duplicate. But the bottom strand, it has to connect in different pieces because it has to go in a very specific direction. And the problem is, if you go on to the second stage, you can see this little red piece and this blue piece. They need to get connected. However, there's not enough space for the enzyme to connect at the end of the strand. And so in the last image, you can see there's just that little overhang there, and that just essentially gets wiped out. Now, this might sound really bad, that part of your DNA essentially doesn't get duplicated and proceed on to the next generation. But this is called the telomere. And so this is that code of DNA that's towards the end. It gets duplicated just a ton of different times. in order to protect it. So when it gets lost, it's okay because it's just a super long duplicate of everything else, leading into that. And so in the image on the right, you can see that at age 20, it's super long and you have a lot of different, a whole section just full of the duplication of the last message of DNA. But as you age and you continue to, duplicate DNA and it gets split and that little piece keeps getting knocked off, by age 80, you can see that it gets much, much shorter. And so the way that exercise helps with this is that, to keep it in very simple levels, it helps boost the levels of, it's called NRF1, nuclear respiratory factor 1, that helps protect these tips. And so it really boosts the levels of this in the blood and in the body. And so exercise can help prevent the cutting of the ends of the DNA by increasing the levels of that factor. And so I hope that wasn't too complicated. But point is, exercise, it really helps protect the DNA and it helps then keep you a little bit younger and, avoid those elderly kind of qualities that you might picture once you hit 90 or something like that. So it can kind of help just mitigate that. But that's all super cool and it's all great. It does great things for your mood, for your brain, for your age. But how do you exercise? What intensity do you need? How do you recover from all the exercise? What types of exercise do you participate in? We get that it keeps you healthy, happy, and fit, but how do you go about it? So lucky for you, there are lots of ways to exercise. But there are two big groups, cardio and strength training. And so you really need to focus on incorporating both of these into, your habit or your routine. So cardio is, exactly what you think of with, running, swimming, biking, but you can also switch it up with jump rope, walking, doing stair step ups, anything that, gets your blood pumping, gets you breathing a little bit harder, any of those kinds of exercises that you can picture. But then strength training is the other component. And so this is more about, muscle building. You can sculpt your body this way. It helps tone your muscles, make them lean. And so yes, weightlifting does include powerlifting with, as you might picture the big racks with squats and lots of weights and, bench press or whatever. But it also includes other things that can be more body weight focused. So, you can do things with push-ups or core. You can even do Tai Chi for balance and, yoga or Pilates to, really get that core strength because, you want that six pack for the beach. But, there's a lot of different things in strength training that people don't think about as they only picture the big heavy weights, but there's a lot of little things that you can do to incorporate this into your training. So first we'll talk about strength training and muscular strength because it's the type of exercise that people get in the least. So I think it's the most important to emphasize. So strength training is how you make your body look how you want. It's not only, genetics and things that play into it as well, but with the right strength training and, weightlifting, you can really sculpt, your body and make it, more how you might want it to look. So this tends to be the area that people lack the most, but it actually brings them the most confidence because of the toning that it provides of their body. And this can even happen with resistance bands and body weight. So again, it doesn't have to include dumbbells or heavy weights. But a lot of people don't realize another major benefit of strength training. It also builds bone density. So this is very crucial for elderly populations, for women, and even runners like myself. For runners, we're constantly pounding on the pavement, and that can really break down the bone because of the impact and the shock from the cement. So making your bones strong is very critical to staying healthy and being able to continue running. However, the elderly are very at risk because as they age, the bone starts to break down. It's a fine balance that your body's always going throughout life of creating bone and actually breaking bone down because of the calcium stores. But once you get older, it starts to tip in that unfavorable way and you start to break down a little bit more. And this can lead to osteoporosis, which is why bones in elderly people, that's what you might think of when they're really weak and very brittle, and it can be because of osteoporosis. And that's why falling is so dangerous. But the specific disease, it occurs more in women. by a lot, because after women go through menopause, they lose the same levels of estrogen that they once had, and that's actually a very important hormone in protecting bones. And also women have, typically have smaller frames and just a smaller build, so they're usually more at risk for hurting, bone and having a smaller bone structure. So weightlifting, though, how that plays into it is that it can help you build more bone because you're training your body to carry extra weight through weightlifting and strength training. And so not only do your muscles adapt, but your bone also adapts. And so, when you leave the gym, your bones aren't carrying all the extra weight that they were just trying to undergo and try to, hold on to all the extra stress. And so that causes your bones then to build up, and it helps get them to grow a little bit bigger. So anyway, so muscular strength is also very important to help with bone density. Then the other type of exercise would be cardio and building your endurance. And so this probably isn't everyone's favorite thing, but it's definitely the easiest, I feel like, because you can just go out onto the road and just, run or walk or whatever. And so, it really helps improve the health of your heart and the strength of your heart. Again, kind of like the strength training stuff, you're putting strain onto your heart, which is a muscle. So just as you might want to bulk up your, biceps or something like that, and you have to work those in order for them to get bigger, you have to work your heart for that to get bigger as well. And so as it becomes stronger, you can start pumping blood more efficiently, and that's how, you'll see the lower heart rate, and your breathing will feel a little bit better because you become a lot more efficient at bringing oxygen to your body, and you don't have to work as hard doing it. Fun fact is that Lance Armstrong, yes, he did blood dope, but nonetheless, his heart rate was 26 beats per minute at rest. And the average of most people it's like around 72, 75. So if you do the math, his heart beat about 1/3 the amount of times that an average person's heart would beat. And furthermore, if you do the math of 26 beats per minute, that's only one heartbeat every 2.3 seconds, and the average person is a little bit less than a second, and it has to be every single time. So it's actually a big difference, and you can really see that as you train more, you'll start to be able to pump blood more efficiently. But also cardio exercise that helps you build more blood capillaries, and so that's what helps with the oxygen exchange. And this will then contribute to that improvement in the efficiency that you'll notice in your breathing and everything like that. And so after, cardio and strength training, lots of different exercises you can do. A soreness is bound to set in, especially if you're just getting started. The good type of soreness is also referred to as delayed onset muscle soreness, or DOMS. So, this is your typical, that tenderness that you might feel if you're like stretching or, rubbing like your arm or something and it's really sore after doing a workout. But that will go away in just a couple of days. If it persists or if it's super, super excruciating, you may want to consider time off because you don't want to risk injury. But soreness can have a little bit of swelling, a little bit of stiffness, definitely tenderness, and it can last for a few days. Even if you're highly trained and anything like that, you can still get sore. But some ways to help mitigate the soreness and to minimize it, include a lot of different techniques. One that I personally like is ice bathing. It's super easy. I think it's more effective than heat. So the way that an ice bath works is that it constricts the blood vessels, which can decrease inflammation. And so you'll just feel a little bit fresher and a little bit better afterwards. But heat is also super helpful because it helps expand blood vessels on the other end, and it brings blood flow and nutrients to those different areas to help repair and recover a little bit quicker. So it kind of depends on which you think might feel best, but I personally really like ice baths, and studies have shown that it might be a little bit more effective than heat. Some other options include massage and foam rolling and stretching. If you want a massage to be a little bit more effective, you probably want like a deep tissue massage, not just a, normal kind of one, I guess, whatever that would be called. Because, yes, it is relaxing, which is nice, but you're not really getting into the muscle then as much. So it might not be the most effective, but it's definitely relaxing nonetheless. Another thing that a lot of people do is that they start leaning towards anti-inflammatory pills like ibuprofen and things like that. And that's definitely not recommended. Exercise, it can already cause a lot of distress to your stomach, and taking an NSAID is not going to be a great combination with that. And so it might lead to more upset stomach issues and things like that, but it can also impede your adaptation to exercise. So you need to train your body to get used to recovering, so that way it learns how to strengthen itself for the next time. So I would focus more on, a little bit more natural way that you can reduce inflammation, or using ice or heat or something like that. But going off of that, superfoods are another very common way and a very great way to help reduce inflammation. Nutrition is a huge part of recovery. In every sort of macronutrient, micronutrient, everything's important. Protein, carbs, fat, everything is good. You do need it all. And a big one though is tart cherry juice. I personally like this after workouts. It just tastes good. But it also contains little nutrients called anthocyanins, and these help reduce inflammation, but it does so in a healthy manner and not in an overdose kind of manner that NSAIDs provide. So I would definitely look towards doing something like that if you just want a little bit extra boost or try to do something different. And this one actually, the next one, kind of relates back to massage, but it's called cupping. You might remember it from the 2016 Olympics with Michael Phelps and the big bruises on his shoulders or whatever. But it's supposed to help increase blood flow. And so that's what kind of causes that bruising looking pattern. More studies do need to be done to show its effectiveness, but I have had it done a couple times myself, and I do think it helps loosen up the different areas and things like that. So it's definitely, I think, an effective way to do it, but more studies do need to be shown. So finally, the results. You may not necessarily see weight loss immediately. Muscle is denser than fat, and so it's going to weigh a little bit more at first. But when you get more muscle, you'll have a leaner body, and so it may weigh a little bit more initially, but you might actually see your pant size go down or something like that, or you might just look more fit and toned. And then you'll eventually start losing weight too. But don't be discouraged if you don't see weight loss in the first week or month or something like that. You're still doing your body plenty of good, as we showed with the protectiveness and aging and helping your brain and everything else like that, your heart, everything. It really does benefit from exercise, and it's a great way to keep your body healthy. And so don't be discouraged again if you don't see weight loss. But exercise is a great way to also maintain your weight. So, you don't have to be focused on weight loss if you're thinking about exercising. So if you'd like to read a little bit more and get a little bit more detail, actually, I thought this magazine was so informative. This is where I got a lot of my information to set up this PowerPoint. And I have also learned some of this stuff through my coursework and through personal experience. So it's definitely a good source to use. But it's the special edition Time magazine called The Science of Exercise. I know it's available on iBooks for $6.99. So, if you want to buy it, that's definitely an easy spot to go. But you can also look online for other sources. But it goes into great depth, and it's super informative, and it's kind of an interesting read if you want to get a little bit more info. But thank you for tuning in, and I hope that you guys are motivated to go exercise and work out. So if you ever, want to do anything, feel free to let me know. I'm in Athens, I'm in the Atlanta area, wherever, and we can get together and do something if you want. But enjoy the rest of your night, and I hope you enjoyed tuning in.